The night before the National Scholar exam, the class Belle slipped into the empty study room and photographed every page of my exam notes. I watched from behind the half-closed supply closet door. Her name was Seraphina Vale, a girl with soft brown curls, glassy eyes, and the kind of beauty teachers protected without realizing it. When she cried, people apologized before they even knew what they had done wrong. Beside her stood Elias, my childhood friend, the boy who once promised he would enter Northbridge University with me. He held the flashlight while Seraphina turned each page of my notebook. "Are you sure we should do this?" he asked quietly. Seraphina paused, then gave a sad little laugh. "Lena always gets first place anyway. One exam won't hurt her." Elias frowned. "That's not what I mean." She lowered her head. I just don't want to fall behind. My father said, if I don't get the scholarship interview, I'm useless." Her voice trembled, exactly the right amount. Elias softened instantly. "Don't say that." Seraphina looked up at him with wet eyes. "Then help me." He said nothing, but he did not stop her. Click, click, click. Her phone captured every page. In my last life, those were my real notes, the ones I had spent 6 months writing by hand. Every predicted essay, every biology pathway, every economics case study, every literature quote likely to appear in the final paper. Seraphina copied them, memorized them, scored higher than me. Then, when examiners noticed our answers were almost identical, she cried first. She said I had copied her. Elias believed her. The school believed her. My scholarship was cancelled. My exam record was marked for academic dishonesty. My mother fainted in the Heddens office, and Seraphina became the youngest student ever admitted into Northbridge's elite pre-medical program. I died 2 years later in a hospital hallway, still wearing the visitor badge for my mother's final treatment, still holding the appeal letter no one had read. But now I was reborn, back to the night before the exam, back to the moment she stole from me. Only this time the notebook on the table was not my real one. This time I had swapped every answer, every formula, every date, every quotation, every case study, every elegant little explanation Seraphina was about to memorize like scripture. All wrong. I pressed my fingers against my lips to keep from laughing. Seraphina closed the notebook and hugged it to her chest for a second, like she had just stolen a future. She turned to Elias. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're the only one who understands me." Elias looked uncomfortable. "Just don't let Lena find out." Seraphina smiled. "She won't." From the closet, I watched them leave. Then I stepped out into the moonlight study room and picked up the notebook. On the first page, in my own handwriting, I had written, "Final revision notes." Lena Hart under it. Hidden between the lines in pale pencil was one sentence only I could see. "For thieves, only chapter 1. When I first woke up reborn, I thought I was still dying. There was a sharp smell of disinfectant in my nose, a white ceiling above me, a cold weight in my chest. Then someone shouted, 'Lena, move your elbow. You're drooling on the desk.' I opened my eyes. The classroom came into focus slowly. Rows of desks, stacks of practice papers, the old wall clock above the blackboard, and Seraphina Vale standing at the front of the room, laughing softly with a group of girls around her. My breath stopped. I was not in the hospital. I was not 20 years old. I was 17 again, a final year student at St. Celeste Academy, 3 days before the National Scholar exam. At first, I could not move. I stare at my hands. No quattro marks, no hospital bracelet, no tremor from exhaustion, just ink stains on my fingers from studying too much. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then I saw Elias. He sat 2 rows away from me, his dark hair falling slightly over his eyes as he leaned toward Seraphina's desk, explaining a math problem to her. Seraphina nodded, looking confused in the prettiest way possible. Elias's voice was patient, too patient. In my last life, He had once explained things to me like that. Before Serafina transferred in. Before everyone started calling her the class belle. Before she learned that lowering her eyelashes could bend the whole school around her. I stared at them for so long that Elias finally looked up. Our eyes met. For 1 second, his face lit up from habit. Then Serafina touched his sleeve. Elias, did I do this part wrong again? He looked away from me. Just like that. Something inside me went quiet. Not broken. Not angry. Just quiet. In my last life, I had loved Elias with the stubbornness of someone who thought childhood promises were sacred. We grew up in the same apartment complex. Our mothers worked together. He used to wait for me outside school with an umbrella when it rained. When I was 12 and got bullied for being a scholarship student, he punched a boy so hard his own hand swelled for 3 days. You're not alone. He told me. Then I believed him for years, even after Serafina arrived, even after he started walking her to the gate, because her driver is always late, even after he forgot my birthday dinner because Serafina had a panic attack before the mock exam, even after he told me, Lena, you're strong. She needs people more than you do. In my last life, those words hurt. Now they explained everything because people like Elias did not abandon the weak. They abandoned whoever looked strong enough to survive it. The bell rang. Everyone began packing. Serafina walked toward me with a small smile. Lena, are you okay? You look pale. Her voice was gentle. Her eyes were not. I remembered those eyes from the disciplinary hearing, red from crying, wide with fear, perfectly innocent as she destroyed me. I smiled back. She looked surprised. Usually, I ignored her. Usually, I could not hide how much it hurt to see her beside Elias. But this time, I had already lived through the ending. Jealousy felt childish after death. Serafina tilted her head. You've been studying so hard. I am jealous. A girl beside her laughed. Serafina, you're already second in the grade. What are you jealous of? Serafina lowered her head. Second isn't enough. Everyone comforted her immediately. You'll do amazing. You're so smart. You're prettier than Lena, too. So who cares? They laughed. Elias frowned slightly, but said nothing. In my last life, I waited for him to defend me. He never did. This time, I packed my books calmly. Serafina's gaze fell on the thick black notebook in my bag. My revision notes. The real ones at that moment. Her eyes paused for half a second. That was enough. I knew exactly when the theft began. Not the night before the exam. Here with that glance. With that calculation. With that soft voice asking, Lena, could I maybe borrow your notes sometime? In my last life, I said yes. Because I was stupid. Because I thought kindness was proof of character. This time, I zipped my bag shut. No. The classroom went silent. Serafina blinked. Elias looked up sharply. What? She whispered. I stood. I said no. Her face turned pale. A beautiful kind of pale. The kind that made everyone hate me. One of her friends snapped. It's just notes. Why are you being so selfish? I looked at her. If they're just notes, she can write her own. Serafina's eyes instantly filled with tears. Lena, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. There it was. The knife wrapped in silk. Elias stood. Lena, was that necessary? I looked at him for a long moment. He looked exactly like I remembered. Tall, handsome, righteous in the laziest possible way. Always ready to protect the crying girl. Never ready to ask why she was crying. No, I said softly. It wasn't necessary. His expression eased. Then I continued, but it felt good. I walked out before anyone could answer. Behind me, the classroom burst into whispers. For the first time in 2 lives, I did not care. Chapter 2. That evening, I went home and burned my old notebook. Not completely. I was not dramatic enough to destroy 6 months of work. First, I scanned every real page into a private drive. Then, I printed a clean version and locked it inside the loose panel under my bed, the one my father had built years ago to hide emergency cash. Only after that did I take the original notebook to the rooftop. The sky was violet. The city lights flickered below like fallen stars. I tore out the pages one by one and fed them into a metal basin. Flames curled around my handwriting. For a moment, I felt strangely sad. Those pages had been my whole life once. Every night, I skipped dinner. Every morning, I woke before sunrise. Every time my mother said, "Lena, rest," and I answered after the exam. In my last life, I had thought hard work would protect me. It did not. Hard work was only a sword. If you handed it to someone else, they could still stab you with it. When the last page turned black, I went downstairs and opened a new notebook. Same black cover, same silver corner protectors, same little coffee stain I carefully recreated on the back. Then I began writing. Wrong answers are easy when you know the right ones. The trick is making them look beautiful. I did not write nonsense. Nonsense would be too obvious. Instead, I wrote answers that were almost correct. A biology pathway with one enzyme reversed. A chemistry equation with the coefficient sly wrong. A literature quote attributed to the wrong poet. A history date shifted by 1 year. An economics case study using a real policy, but the wrong country. Essay arguments that sounded elegant, but contradicted the marking criteria. By midnight, the notebook looked perfect. It looked like me. That was the most dangerous part. Anyone who stole it would believe every word. My phone buzzed. A message from Elias. "You embarrassed Serafina today." I stared at the screen. In my last life, I would have typed a paragraph explaining, apologizing, begging him to understand. I was tired, too. This time, I replied with one word. "Okay." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "That's all you have to say." I almost smiled. Yes. He called immediately. I let it ring. Then I turned off my phone. The next morning, Elias waited for me at the school gate. The sun was barely up. Students moved past us in sleepy streams, their uniforms neat, their exams stress hidden behind coffee and flashcards. He stepped in front of me. "Lena." I tried to walk around him. He caught my wrist. In my last life, that touch had power over me. This time, I looked down at his hand until he let go. His face tightened. "You've changed." "No," I said. "I've just stopped explaining myself." He frowned. "Serafina cried all night. Then she should drink water." His eyes flashed. "Why are you acting like this?" I finally looked at him properly. "Like what?" "Cold." A laugh almost escaped me. "Cold. That was what people called you when you stopped letting them burn you." "Elias," I said, "do you know what my mother's medical bill is this month?" He blinked. "What? Do you know how many scholarship points I need to keep my housing grant?" His expression shifted. "Lena, that's not you know what topic I chose for my final essay prediction." He fell silent. I smiled faintly. "But you know." Serafina cried all night. His mouth opened, closed. For once, no righteous sentence came out. I stepped past him. "Before I entered the building," he said quietly, "you used to trust me." I stopped. The morning wind lifted the ends of my hair. In my last life, I trusted him until the moment he stood before the academic board and said, "I believe Serafina." Not "I don't know." Not "please investigate." Not "Lena deserves a chance." He believed her. That was enough to bury me. I did not turn around. "You used to deserve it." Then I walked inside. Chapter 3. 2 days before the exam, Serafina began her performance. She fainted during lunch. Not dramatically. Serafina never wasted effort. She simply stood, swayed, and collapsed into Elias's arms at exactly the right angle. The cafeteria erupted. Girls screamed. Someone called the nurse. Elias carried her out like she was made of glass. I continued eating. Across from me, my friend Nari stared. You're not going? Why would I? She lowered her voice. Because everyone is looking at you like you pushed her. I glanced around. She was right. Half the cafeteria watched me with open disgust. In my last life, I would have panicked. This time, I picked up a piece of fried chicken and said, "Let them." Nari leaned forward. "Did something happen between you two?" Nari was the only person in Saint Celeste who had never worshipped Seraphina. Not because she hated her, because Nari hated everyone equally until proven useful. In my last life, she had tried to warn me. Seraphina is not weak. She once said, "She's just lazy with witnesses." I did not listen. After my expulsion, Nari was the only classmate who sent me a message. "I believe you. I'm sorry I didn't say it louder." By then it was too late. Now I looked at her and said, "She wants my notes." Nari's eyes narrowed. That was all. She understood immediately. "Are they safe?" I smiled. "Very." Nari paused, then smiled too. It was the first real smile I had seen in days. "You're scary lately. I died and came back." She laughed, thinking I was joking. I was not. That afternoon, the school counselor called me in. Seraphina sat on the sofa with a blanket around her shoulders. Elias stood behind her. The counselor, Miss Rowland, folded her hands. "Lena, Seraphina says she feels you've become hostile toward her." I looked at Seraphina. Her eyes were red. Her voice was tiny. "I don't know what I did wrong. If I upset you, please tell me. I don't want us to become enemies before graduation." What a sentence. So clean, so generous, so poisonous. Because now if I refused peace, I became cruel. Miss Rowland looked at me. Academic pressure affects everyone differently. But as top students, you two should support each other. I nodded. "You're right." Seraphina looked surprised. Elias relaxed slightly. I turned to her. "I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable." Her eyes widened. The counselor smiled. "That's good." Then I continued. "But I still won't lend you my notes." The smile vanished. Seraphina's fingers tightened around the blanket. Elias's expression darkened. "Miss Rowland, Lena, sharing resources is part of healthy academic culture. Then the school can provide resources." I said, "My handwritten exam predictions are not school property." Miss Rowland frowned. "That sounds a little selfish." I looked at her calmly. "Maybe. In my last life, I had been terrified of being called selfish. Girls like me were trained to survive by being useful. Share your notes. Help your classmates. Be humble. Do not make others feel inferior. Smile when they take pieces of you. Then apologize when you bleed." I was done. Seraphina lowered her head. "It's okay. I understand. Lena worked hard. I have no right to ask." Elias looked at me with disappointment. That old look. The one that once made my stomach twist. Now it only bored me. After the meeting, he followed me into the hallway. "Are you proud of yourself?" I stopped. "For what?" "She's under enough pressure." "So am I." "You don't look like it." I turned around. For a moment, I simply stared at him. In 2 lives, Elias had never learned that pain did not always cry prettily. Sometimes it studied until dawn. Sometimes it smiled politely. Sometimes it stood in front of the boy it once loved and felt nothing but exhaustion. "You're right," I said. "I don't." Then I left him there. That evening, I deliberately stayed late in the private study room. I placed the fake notebook on my usual desk. I highlighted 3 pages, added sticky tabs, left my pencil beside it. Then I walked out with my bag hid in the supply closet and waited. At 8:43 p.m., the door opened. Seraphina entered first. Elias followed, and history repeated itself. Only this time, history was bait. Chapter for exam morning smelled like rain and ink. The sky outside was gray. The academy courtyard was packed with students whispering last-minute facts under their breath like prayers. Seraphina arrived wearing a white ribbon in her hair. She looked radiant. No one would have guessed she had spent half the night memorizing a notebook full of poison. Elias walked beside her. When he saw me, he hesitated. Then he came over. Lena, I checked my pencil case. He lowered his voice. Good luck. It was such a small sentence. Once it would have meant everything. Now I only nodded. You too. His eyes searched my face. Maybe he expected anger. Maybe sadness. Maybe some proof that the thread between us still existed. I gave him nothing. Serafina approached with a soft smile. Lena, good luck. I looked at her. She looked so confident that for 1 second I almost admired her. Stealing was ugly, but her faith in stolen things was impressive. Good luck, I said. She flinched. Maybe she heard the sincerity. Maybe that frightened her. The exam hall opened. We entered in silence. Rows of desks stretched beneath white lights. At the front, the chief examiner read the rules. No phones, no notes, no communication. Any academic dishonesty would result in immediate disqualification and a permanent report. At that line, Serafina's fingers twitched. I noticed. So did Nari. 2 seats behind me. She coughed to hide a laugh. The first paper began. Biology and chemistry. I turned the page. Question 1. Enzyme cascade in neuroinflammatory response. The exact topic for my real predictions. Also the exact topic from the fake notebook, except in the fake notebook, I had reversed the inhibitor pathway. A small mistake. Elegant. Fatal. I picked up my pen and wrote the correct answer. Across the hall, Serafina began writing rapidly. She did not hesitate. That was the problem with stolen confidence. It moved too fast. The second paper was humanities. The essay prompt asked about memory, state power, and moral responsibility in post-war literature. In my fake notes, I had written a beautiful paragraph using a quote by Hoshino Rei. The quote was real. The author was not. It belonged to Kasaragi Minato, a poet banned from the exam syllabus because of translation disputes. Any student who studied properly would know not to use it. Serafina used it in her opening paragraph. I could see the curve of her smile as she wrote. By the final paper, she was glowing. When the bell rang, students collapsed over their desks. Some cried, some laughed. Serafina stood slowly, graceful as a swan. Her friends rushed over. How was it? She smiled modestly. Better than I expected. Elias looked relieved. I packed my pens. Nari passed behind me and whispered, You look like a villainess. I whispered back, Thank you. Outside, the rain had stopped. Serafina was surrounded by classmates. I think the essay went really well, she said. The memory prompt was almost exactly what I prepared. Someone groaned. Lucky. I completely blinked. Serafina glanced at me just once. A victorious little glance. In my last life, that glance came after results. This time it came before the fall. Elias walked toward me. Lena, how was it? Fine. He nodded awkwardly. Serafina did well, too. I'm sure something in my tone made him frown. What does that mean? I looked at Serafina laughing under the wet cherry trees. Nothing. Then I walked away. Behind me, Elias called my name once. I did not turn around. Chapter 5 results were released 7 days later. In my last life, I had opened the ranking page with trembling hands and seen Serafina's name above mine. First place, Serafina Valley. Second place, Lena Hart. By evening, the school forum was flooded. The class bell is beauty and brains. Lena finally lost. Honestly, Lena always seemed too intense. Serafina feels more natural. Then came the investigation, then the accusation, then the end. This time when the rankings appeared on the auditorium screen, the whole school went silent. First place, Lena Hart. Second place, Nari Kwan. Third place, Elias Grant. Serafina's name was not on the first page. Not the second. Not the third. Whispers began. Where's Serafina? Maybe system error. She always ranks top 5. At the front of the auditorium, Serafina stared at the screen like it had spoken in another language. Her face was white. Elias stood beside her, equally stunned. Then a teacher walked onto the stage and tapped the microphone. Before we continue, the examination board has requested that student Serafina Vale report to the academic office. The whispers became a wave. Serafina turned slowly. Me. Her voice cracked. The teacher's face was unreadable. Yes. Now. Elias stepped forward. I'll go with her. The teacher paused. Student Elias Grant, you have also been requested. The auditorium exploded. Serafina swayed. This time, no one moved fast enough to catch her. She did not faint. She simply stood there trapped inside everyone's gaze. I watched from my seat. My hands were folded in my lap. Come. So come, it almost scared me. Nari leaned close. What did you do? I looked at the stage. I studied. She snorted. The academic office was not far from the auditorium, but news traveled faster than footsteps. By lunch, everyone knew. Serafina's answers contained multiple identical errors from an unauthorized revision notebook. Not just common mistakes, specific ones. A reversed enzyme pathway, a fake economics case study, a misattributed literature quotation, a historical treaty that never existed, and at the bottom of one essay plan, she had accidentally memorized and written a phrase from my fake notes. This argument should sound gentle but decisive. No student wrote that by accident. The examiners flagged her paper immediately. Then they reviewed security footage. The private study room. The night before the exam. Serafina photographing my notebook. Elias standing beside her holding the flashlight. By afternoon, the school forum had turned into a battlefield. Wait, did Serafina steal Lena's notes? No way. She's not like that. There's video. Elias helped. I thought Lena was the jealous one. This is insane. At 3:15 p.m., Elias found me behind the library. He looked like he had aged overnight. Lena. I closed my book. He stopped in front of me. His voice was rough. You knew. I looked at him. Knew what? That she copied your notes. I tilted my head. Did she? His face tightened. Don't do that. Do what? Act like this was all an accident. I stood the afternoon sun cut across the floor between us. In my last life, I had stood in this exact courtyard while he told me he believed Serafina. Back then, I cried so hard I could barely breathe. Now, he was the one struggling. I said, Elias, why were you in the study room with her? His mouth opened. No answer. Why did you hold the flashlight? His eyes reened. She said she was desperate. So you helped her steal from me. I didn't think. No. I said, you didn't. He flinched. I picked up my bag. He stepped closer. Lena, I'm sorry. There it was. The apology I had once died needing. It sounded smaller than I expected. I didn't know the notes were wrong. He said. I laughed softly. That was when his face truly changed because he heard it too. What he had confessed. Not that he regretted helping her steal. Only that the stolen thing had been useless. How unlucky for you both. I said. His lips parted. Lena. I walked past him. He caught my sleeve. Please. Serafina's future is ruined. I looked back. She should have written her own. She could be banned from national exams. She used stolen notes in a national exam. She was scared. I pulled my sleeve free. So was I. He stared at me, maybe for the first time. He wondered what fear looked like when it did not cry. I left him there. This time he did not call after me. Chapter 6. Afina came to my apartment that night. I knew she would. Girls like her did not accept consequences immediately. First, they searched for someone softer to place them on. Rain slid down the windows. My mother was asleep in the next room, exhausted from her late shift at the pharmacy. When the doorbell rang, I opened it only halfway. Serafina stood outside in a pale blue coat, her hair loose, het feestbaar without makeup. She looked younger, almost harmless, almost. Lena, she whispered. I said nothing. She clutched her bag strap. Can we talk? It's late. Please. In my last life. She had visited me after the accusation. 2. She cried in this same hallway. She held my hands. She whispered, if you admit it quietly, maybe they won't punish you too badly. I remembered staring at her, unable to understand how someone I had fed, helped, and defended could look me in the eyes while burying me alive. Now I opened the door a little wider, not because I pitied her, because some ghosts need to see the living. Serafina stepped inside. Her gaze moved around our small apartment, the old sofa, the medicine bottles on the counter, the stack of bills beside the rice cooker. She had been here before. She had eaten my mother's cooking and said, it feels so warm here. Then she stole the future that was supposed to keep this home alive. She turned to me. You set me up. I almost smiled. No, I left my notebook on my desk. You knew I would copy it. You chose to copy it. Her eyes flashed. You made every answer wrong on purpose, and you trusted every stolen word. Her face crumpled. I was desperate. I walked to the table and picked up a glass of water. Desperate people study. She flinched. Then her tears came. Fast. Beautiful. Familiar. I know I was wrong. I know. But do you understand what it's like being me? She continued, voice shaking. Everyone expects me to be perfect. My father only praises me when I win. Teachers smile at me, but they're waiting for me to fail. You don't understand because you're naturally smart. There it was again. The insult disguised as praise. Naturally smart. As if I had not worked until my fingers cramped. As if knowledge simply bloomed inside me while she suffered prettily under expectation. I placed the glass down. Serafina, do you know why I needed first place? She blinked. What? My mother's treatment discount depends on my scholarship tier. Our rent support depends on my exam record. Northbridge was not a dream for me. It was survival. She looked away. I didn't know. You never ask. The room fell silent. Rain tapped against the window from the bedroom. My mother coughed in her sleep. Serafina's shoulders tightened. For 1 second, guilt passed across her face. Real guilt. Maybe. Then it disappeared beneath fear. If you tell the board you let me borrow the notes, they might reduce my punishment. I laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. Her face went red. You planned this, she said. No, I said. I prepared for it. What's the difference? The difference is that you came to steal. I simply stopped leaving myself unarmed. She stared at me with trembling lips. You're cruel. In my last life, I had heard that word from everyone. Cruel for protesting. Cruel for being angry. Cruel for not comforting the girl who destroyed me. This time the word slid off me like rain. Maybe. Serafina stepped closer. If my career ends, is that what you want? I looked at her carefully. There was still a part of me, small and tired, that remembered liking her. The way she used to braid my hair before school festivals. The way she laughed at bad cafeteria soup. The night we both fell asleep over flashcards and woke with ink on our cheeks. Maybe none of it was fake. Maybe that was the worst part. People could care about you and still choose themselves the moment it mattered. No, I said finally, I don't want your career to end. Hope flickered in her eyes. Then I finished. I just won't end mine to save it. Her hope died. She looked toward the bedroom door. Your mother is sleeping. My blood went cold. Don't. Serafina swallowed. I just mean she must be proud of you. Leave Lena now. For once. My voice was sharp enough to cut through her performance. She stepped back. At the door, she turned. Elias hates me now. I said nothing. Her smile broke. He keeps looking at me like I'm disgusting. That must be hard. She searched my face for mockery. There was none. Only emptiness. That frightened her more. Did you love him? She asked. In my last life. Yes. Enough to let his disbelief kill me. In this life. I opened the door. Not anymore. Serafina left without another word. I locked the door behind her. Then I leaned against it and finally let myself breathe. Not cry, not shake, just breathe. My mother's door opened softly. She stood there in her worn cardigan, eyes tired but clear. Lena. I turned. She looked at my face and seemed to understand enough. Are you okay? In my last life, I had lied. This time I walked into her arms. I will be. Chapter 7. The disciplinary hearing happened 3 days later. In my last life, I sat in that room as the accused. The walls were cream. The table was too long. The adults spoke in calm voices while destroying my future. This time, I sat as a witness. Serafina sat across from me. Elias sat beside her, but not close. That distance said more than any speech. The headmaster played the security footage. Serafina entering the study room. Elias behind her photographing my notebook. The room was silent except for the faint buzz of the projector. When the video ended, the headmaster removed his glasses. Miss Vale, do you deny copying Miss Hart's materials without permission? Serafina's lips trembled. No. Did you use those materials to prepare for the National Scholar exam? Yes. Did you communicate with Elias Grant during this act? She looked at Elias. He stared at the table. Yes. The headmaster turned to him. Mr. Grant. Elias closed his eyes. I helped her. Serafina inhaled sharply, as if even now she had hoped he would protect her. But the spell had broken. Once the crying girl stopped looking innocent, people suddenly remembered right and wrong. The examination board representative spoke next. Miss Vale's paper contains evidence of direct memorization from unauthorized stolen materials. Her score is void. She will be barred from this year's National Scholarship cycle. A recommendation will be sent to the board regarding future eligibility. Serafina covered her mouth. Elias went pale. The representative turned to him. Mr. Grant's involvement will also be reported, though his exam answers show no use of the stolen material because Elias had not needed my notes. He had only helped her take them. Somehow that made it worse. The headmaster looked at me. Miss Hart, do you have anything to add? In my last life, I begged. I explained metadata. I asked them to check timestamps. I cried until my voice broke. No one listened. Now everyone was listening. I folded my hands. I have nothing to add. Serafina looked up. Her eyes were red. Nothing. I met her gaze. She wanted anger. She wanted a speech. She wanted something dramatic enough to make her suffering feel shared. Ikaw har nothing. The headmaster nodded. Then this hearing is concluded. Chair scraped. Adults gathered papers. Just like that, a future collapsed. No music, only signatures. Outside the office, Elias stopped me. His voice was hoarse. Lena. I kept walking. He followed. Please just listen once. I stopped near the stairwell below us. Students moved through the lobby whispering. Everyone knew. Everyone watched. Fitting. He had doubted me publicly in another life. Now, he could apologize publicly in this one. I was wrong, he said. I looked at him. He swallowed. I thought you were being cold because you were jealous. I thought Serafina was scared and you were strong. So you chose her. He flinched. Yes. The honesty surprised me. A little. Not enough. I'm sorry, he said. I know that doesn't fix anything. No, I said it doesn't. His eyes reened. Do you hate me? I thought about it in my last life. I hated him so much it kept me awake. Then I loved him so much it made the hate worse. Then I died. Now, standing under the academy's bright hallway lights, I searched myself and found only distance. No. For a second, hope appeared on his face. Then I said, "You don't matter enough anymore." That hurt him. I saw it land. A clean, quiet wound. He nodded slowly. I deserved that. Maybe he did. Maybe he deserved worse. But revenge, I had learned, was heavy. I had carried enough. I turned to leave. He said, "North will accept you." I paused. They already did. His eyes widened. I allowed myself one small smile. Early academic review. First place has privileges. For the first time, I said it without guilt. Then I walked down the stairs. At the bottom, Nari waited with 2 king coffees. She handed me one. Congratulations. Villainous. I took it. Thank you. Accomplice. I did nothing. You believed me. She popped open her can. That's not nothing. No, it was not. Chapter 8 graduation came with white flowers and blue banners. St. Celeste Academy loved pretending every ending was clean. The headmaster gave a speech about integrity. Parents clapped. Teachers smiled. Students took photos beneath the cherry trees. Serafina did not attend the ceremony. Her name was still printed in the program, a ghost in elegant font. Elias attended, but he stood alone. No crowd around him. No Serafina holding his sleeve. No me waiting nearby with spare notes and quiet forgiveness. During the award segment, I walked onto the stage to receive the National Scholar Medal. The applause was loud. Too loud. I looked out at the crowd and saw my mother crying into a tissue. This time, she was crying because she was proud, not because people had humiliated her daughter in a room full of strangers. I bowed. The medal was heavier than I expected. After the ceremony, I found a small envelope tucked inside my locker. No name, but I knew the handwriting. Serafina. I opened it. Lena. I wanted to say this in person, but I don't think I have the right. I blamed you at first. I told myself you trapped me, but every time I replay that night, I see my own hand turning the pages. I see Elias holding the light. I see myself choosing it. I don't know if I'm sorry because I hurt you or because I lost everything. Maybe both. Maybe that's ugly. But it's the only honest thing I have left. You once helped me when I didn't deserve it. I repaid you by stealing from you. I hope one day I become someone who would not do that again. Serafina. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it back in the envelope. I did not cry. I did not forgive her, but I did not tear it up either. Some apologies do not erase wounds. They only prove the person finally saw the knife. Outside the school gate, Elias waited beneath the old maple tree, the same tree where he once promised we would go to Northbridge together. He saw me and straightened. I almost walked past, then stopped. For the girl I used to be, for the years she had loved him, for the ending she deserved to hear. Elias. His eyes softened painfully. Lena. I'm leaving tomorrow for Northbridge. Yes. He nodded. That's good. Silence stretched between us. Then he said, I keep thinking about what you asked me. What? You asked if I knew anything about your life, your mother's bills, your scholarship, your pressure. I looked at him. I didn't. He said, I should have. Yes. He gave a broken little laugh. You don't soften anything anymore. No. Good. He whispered. Don't. For the first time in a long time, I saw the boy who once held an umbrella over me in the rain. But seeing him was not the same as wanting him back. I hope you become better, I said. His throat moved. For you? I shook my head. For the next person who trusts you. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were wet. I am sorry. Lena. I know. Then I walked away. He did not follow. That was his final kindness. Chapter 9 Northbridge University was colder than St. Celeste. The buildings were older, the libraries larger, the students sharper. No one knew me as the poor scholarship girl. No one knew Serafina's name. No one knew Elias had once held my heart carelessly in his hands. I was simply Lena Hart, national scholar, pre-medical research candidate, daughter of a tired woman who finally slept better because the bills were paid. On my first night in the dormitory, I unpacked the real notebook, the one I had rewritten after burning the old version. Its pages were neat, precise, and mine. I placed it on my desk beside the medal. For a long time, I simply looked at it. Then I opened the first page and wrote a new sentence. My future is not a shared document. The next morning, orientation began. A professor with silver hair gave a lecture about academic ethics. Talent matters, she said, walking slowly across the stage. But character decides what talent becomes. I sat in the front row and smiled. Around me, students took notes. I did, too. Not because I needed to, because this time everything I wrote belonged to me. Months passed. My mother's health stabilized. Nari visited during winter break and complained that Northbridge students looked like they were born holding citations. Elias sent one message on New Year's Day. I hope you're well. I won't bother you again. I did not reply, but I did not block him either. Some doors do not need locks once you stop wanting to open them. Serafina disappeared for almost a year. Then one spring afternoon, while I was leaving the research library, I saw her across the street. She wore a simple gray coat. Her hair was shorter. She was carrying textbooks from a community college. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she bowed deeply, not beautifully, not dramatically, just sincerely. I stood still. When she straightened, her eyes were red, but she did not approach. She did not ask for forgiveness. She did not explain. She simply held her books tighter and walked away. I watched her disappear into the crowd. A strange feeling moved through me. Not pity, not satisfaction, something quieter, maybe closure. That evening, snow began falling over Northbridge. I sat by the dorm window, working through a difficult anatomy chapter while the world turned white outside. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Don't study too late. I'm proud of you. I smiled. I won't. Love you. Then I looked at my open notebook. My own handwriting. My own answers. My own life. In my last life, I thought being copied meant someone had stolen my future. But I was wrong. A thief could steal notes. They could steal credit. They could even steal applause for a while. But they could not steal the mind that made them. They could not steal the hands that kept writing. They could not steal the girl who died once and came back unwilling to kneel. Outside, the snow fell softly under the street lights. I picked up my pen and continued studying. This time, no one stood behind me, waiting to copy. No class bell smiled with stolen confidence. No boy held the flashlight for betrayal. No one asked me to be kind while they reached for my life.